What's up, guys? How you doing? It's Ben Gothard here, and we are here with Chris Jones. How you doing, my man?
I'm good, Ben. Thanks for having me on, bro.
Whoop. Good, good, man. I'm glad to have you on. And
Awesome.
as always, Chris is a very experienced Amazon FBA seller, entrepreneur, and part-time stand-up comedian. By by all the jokes he's telling.
And the coffee lover.
Yes, coffee lover too. All right, my man. So today I want to pick your brain on the product selection process. Okay, so we had a little talk before, and truly picking a good product is a massive job. Okay, there are a lot of different things that goes into it, and there's a lot of research that you got to do, and so. Chris and I decided that we want to break this into 3 parts. Okay, so this is part 1 of the product selection process, and there are going to be 3 total parts. All right, so let's jump right in. Okay, let's start with some product selection success factors. Okay, so I want to start with the first one. Product selection success factor number 1: always choose a product that is light in weight. Chris, why do we want this?
This and the second one that we'll talk about, which is small in size, okay, these kind of fit into each other. You want to choose a product that is small in size and light in weight, not just because of the shipping factor. If you're shipping a fridge from China or wherever, it's going to cost a lot of money in shipping and delivery fees, and also getting through customs and all of that good stuff that I just don't like to deal with. So I like to go with small products, small products which are, tiny in size, not too tiny, light in weight, just like a feather, and mainly because it's going to save you money in the short and long term on shipping, like I just said, and also the storage, handling, customer service, and all of that good stuff that comes along with storing your product in the fulfillment centers, which is Amazon's warehouse. So really, the biggest criteria is what you're looking here for. They're small in size, light in weight, and now we're going to follow on with some more. So a perfect example, guys, okay, would be something exactly like this. So as you can see, this is just a little espresso glass. I do love my espressos, I must say. So the only reason why I wouldn't go into something like this is because it's China, and what we will go into soon, Ben, as that's one of the points down here, this would be a risk factor, okay? So it would be a risk factor in terms of the potential of this getting broken. So high refund rate, possibility getting broken in shipping also. So we'll go into those factors. Look at me racing ahead. I apologize, Ben.
Oh, dude. The fact that you're sharing your expertise and, showing us your love for coffee at the same time, it's beautiful. So, anyways, I do want to give a few examples real quick because I do think it's important to touch on these and make sure we really cover them well. Light and weight. Okay, when you think light and weight, I want you to think like little gadgets like maybe a key ring or, like a cup or like a pencil, a pen, something that is really light. Again, this is so that our shipping fees are much less and our storage fees within Amazon FBA is dramatically less. Because if you have too heavy of a product, these fees will rise. And that will leave you with less money in your pocket than if you were to go with a lighter product. So, more examples are, maybe a little health supplement, maybe a pair of socks.
A perfect example would be like a diary or a notepad. So that's the size of my hand. This is like a small 2017 notepad. This with your own custom label, absolutely beautiful. This is exactly a perfect product that you'd want to go with. And let's go back. You talk, Ben. You talk.
Absolutely. So, long story short, you don't want to go buying any dumbbells or barbells or squat racks just yet because we want to go light in weight. Now, in addition, we also want to go small in size, okay? So I'd say a general rule, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but a general rule is that if it fits in a shoebox, you're good to go, okay?
Yes.
Any bigger than that is usually classed as oversized, and your storage, fulfillment, and shipping fees will rise. That actually rhymes. We didn't even mean it.
It's in Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an important criteria that we really have to pay attention to while selecting products on Amazon. And again, stick with the shoebox rule because you want to keep your costs down. You keep your costs down, keep your shipping, your storage, all those costs down. We're good to go. Chris, any last thoughts on small in size and light in weight?
I would really just talk about one of the biggest factors that we are going to talk about soon, so I'll save it for that one.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So let's move on to number 3, which is low risk. Okay? Mm-hmm. We want to keep our items at very low risk. Chris, can you shed some insight on that? I didn't mean to catch it right when you were taking a sip.
No, it's all good. So that was actually the perfect point because, again, I'm going to refer back to, for an example, this could be a coffee glass or it could be a china glass, which is very delicate. Again, the potential of this getting broken in cargo is quite high. Now, you really don't want to be, especially if this is your first product and you are a beginner, even if this product is selling well on Amazon, I still wouldn't want to put myself in a position where I could have a potential high refund rate for the first 500 units that I'm sending in. This wouldn't be good for business, this wouldn't be good for your financials, and this won't be good for your good performance rating that Amazon set you, which you want to keep above a great performance rate. So, these factors come in. Also, another factor in the element of risk is if you were to sell knives, knives in terms of kitchenware are quite popular on Amazon. You can get some nice knives these days. I don't know why I say that, I don't even cook, but you can. And, the nice rubber handles, but obviously knives are sharp. So if someone was to cut themselves, or it was to drop on their toes, guys, or to drop on their children's feet. Now, you may think that this isn't your fault as a seller, but I guarantee you there will be repercussions of that. And one thing that you really do want to check before, if you were to go into a higher risk product, that your supplier is covered themselves and you have got further cover with your product liability insurance. Now, that is one thing that I will always request from a new supplier and a current supplier every 6 to 12 months to see if they're in date. They, without question, they should send that first away when you request that from an email. If they don't send it and they lag and they try to, wait it out, then don't waste your time. Move on to the next supplier who will provide that to you straight away. So again, the risk factor of someone getting hurt. Consumables, Ben, they are a high risk factor. If you're taking tablets, you're taking, grocery, if you're selling like branded nuts, branded sweets, coffee, supplements, all of that is high risk because it's something it's human consumption. The higher the risk, the higher the insurance. But then again, there's the element of high refunds, which comes into a different factor. Cheers.
Absolutely. And so, just to recap, we want to keep it low risk. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the low risk factor when choosing your Amazon product is incredibly important, vitally important, I would even dare to say. Okay. Because we want to stay away from stuff like knives. Okay. People can cut themselves. We don't want that. Blenders. Blenders are bad for 2 reasons. One, there's a lot of sharp things on it, and 2, it's electronic, right? I would advise, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I would advise you stay away from electronics. You do not want to sell electronics. They're gonna break. They're gonna hurt someone. More bad things are gonna happen, and you know whose fault it is? It's yours as the seller. Regardless of why, it's gonna come back to you. As Chris said, there will be repercussions to you. So do yourself a favor and just don't go into those kinds of products, right? Pick other kinds of products, right? So you don't want things that are easy to break, that are delicate, like glass, like, again, Chris has said many times, coffee glasses, nice dinner plates. Some of these items might be tempting to sell because they sell well, but I think Chris would agree with me. We would definitely recommend taking a different route. Okay.
Yeah. To cut you up, Ben. You've got to think if you were to go into these higher risk factors, usually what comes with these higher risk factor products are higher cost prices. So if you were to put your own brand, your own private label onto an actual blender, a coffee machine, I'm looking around my kitchen, people private label microwaves, cheap phones, anything like that. The cost price of that product from your supplier, what you're going to buy it for, is going to be much, much higher than something of basic standing, such as your own customized, notepad or diary, in which, again, is very positive, as this is a year-round product. This is not going to break. It's a product where people aren't going to complain if it gets a bit scruffy after they've used it. It's a basic product which the refund rate will be next to nothing, as they're quite cheap, and you can get these cost price for very, very low, and you can actually sell these for a good profit margin. So you have to think, when you're going into high risk factors, usually they come with higher cost price. And if you were to get those continued refunds, then think of the money you're potentially losing out on. So always think ahead. A blender, it sells 75 units a day. That could be my 75 units to sell. But guys, take a step back. Think about the risk factors, the liability, the excess insurance you might have to take out to cover yourself, your business. And just be patient with the process. Take your time. Take your time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, by choosing a product that has a lot more risk, you're putting both yourself and your business in a position to take on extra liability, right? You're going to have more refunds, okay? You're going to have a worse ranking, and to be fair, you're probably not even going to have that much more revenue, okay? If you have to deal with all of these things, it's an extra headache for a very low chance of extra reward, right? When you're buying stocks, okay, you know that if it's a high interest rate, okay, high risk, high reward. Okay, so that's a little bit more of a give and take. You know what you're getting yourself into. Okay, but when you go with a product like this, you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. So it could just be an immense headache that you don't want to deal with. Okay, again, like Chris said, you're gonna have to get a lot of insurance. I mean, product liability insurance
is not cheap.
It's not only is it not cheap, but it's imperative. I mean, you have to have it. You absolutely have to have it. Chris, how many months have you been doing this?
18 months.
18 months? And how important would you say that product liability insurance is when you're selling on Amazon?
It's crazy important, even for the low risk products. So you can imagine, for the high risk products, it's crazy. So you have to do your due diligence and all of this, and you have to speak to a load of companies. And, it gets complicated when you start to talk about electronics and you're a brand new company and you're a private label seller and you're going on to sell on Amazon and you're doing it for a bit of fun. But really, it's not for fun. I almost swore then. It's not for fun. You're trying to make the financials to where you want them to be and what you've thought of in your head. So, without that business and all of that liability stuff, it can really go downhill if you don't focus. So you can avoid all of these. They're not pitfalls, but just by thinking ahead, thinking smart, don't go in with the approach that I did at the start. And I was very like, I'm going to get this up and running. I'm going to get 100 sales a day. Go, 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 go. I tried to bypass all of the important strategies that went along with it. And, almost my business failed, and I got in, I could have gotten a lot of trouble for the stuff that I didn't do. So please, guys, learn from some of the mistakes that I could have made and apply it to your own business when you're starting out.
So, I do want to take a second, now that we're talking a little bit about your history, to add a little bit more credibility to this video, right? So you say you've been doing this for 18 months. How much revenue have you brought in amongst your various businesses?
So I run a health and personal care business, which is a supplement business, and I run I'm trying to say this in the right way, a grocery business, which I sell coffee in. So I sell strictly in the UK. Okay, so that's with 12 products. I'm going to be totally honest, only 8 of those products actually sell well. I made a few bad decisions like 8 months ago, and I brought out too many products at once. Don't do that, guys. Always do your research. And as of 2 weeks ago, I surpassed the £300,000 mark in the UK Amazon platform alone, which was a very, very, very nice feeling. But not so just because of the revenue I built up and, done over £250,000 in the first year. It was more so to show myself and show others that something that you watch on YouTube and you might think that is a get-rich-quick scheme, if you watch it and believe it in it enough, it can come true. And, for everyone that knows me where I live, in Pembrokeshire in Wales, they know exactly how, it all goes. And, yeah, it's just great to actually motivate and inspire others who didn't really believe in myself or themselves, and now they're the ones looking to do it themselves. And it's just a great feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, just to recap a little bit, we've talked about 3 crucial factors. 1, small in size. 2, low risk. And 3, lightweight. Okay? So, let's move on to the 4th one. Okay? And again, these are product selection musts. You have got to know about these. You have got to think about these. If you do not think about these, it will come back to bite you in the butt. And we do not want that to happen to you because we care about you. We want to give you some value. Okay? So, number 4, Chris, is easy to ship. Can you give us some insight, my man?
Yeah, so this again, and this might be seen like I'm backtracking or I'm sounding like a big fat parrot, but this comes down to like being light in weight and small in size. This is really condensed into those two, and also really condensed into point 3 as well. So all we're looking for here is for the project to be small, being easy enough to tuck into these boxes in a shipping container and just get out to Amazon. And I'm talking for that to be as light as possible, small as possible, as low risk as possible, and all of those 3 main factors come in to making that very easy to ship. So you've got 2 methods here. You can ship by air, or you can ship by sea freight. Now, there's 2 completely different methods. Obviously, the air is going to be faster, but a lot more expensive. So you might have to go without milk for a while. So if you're patient, go with the sea freight the first time round. Be patient, let it hit Amazon, analyze your sales, and then communicate with your supplier to see the difference and see how fast and costly the air stuff can be in the future. See if you can work out a price. Always ask the question. Ask. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Absolutely. And so, again, we're telling you these things because we don't want you to go without milk. We do not want you to run out of milk. Okay? So just make sure your stuff's easy to ship, right? When you're doing stuff by air, like Chris said, it's going to be more expensive. Okay, you still could be looking at, as little as a few days up to a few weeks, but it is more expensive. Okay, so when you get it sent by air, it takes a little bit less time, but it's more expensive. If you go by sea, you could be looking at up to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but up to 10 weeks of shipping for this method. Okay, you gotta understand all this stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
You got to know how long it's going to take by air, how long it's going to take by sea. Always want to work with the supplier because both of these options are typically, available, and you want to make sure you're just communicating, right? So Chris, when you first start out with a product, do you like to order by sea to begin with, or do you like to start with how do you like to begin?
Depending on how capital is looking, I will evaluate both and see the price difference. Usually, and more cases than not, I will start by sea because I know there's so many processes that you can really take action on in between that shipping of 8 to 12 weeks by sea. So usually I like to take the time and work on other elements of that launch while waiting, because to me that's quite an exciting factor, waiting for it to hit. Obviously you won't be able to make the sales in that 10 weeks where it won't be an Amazon, of which you could have made through air. But let me give you guys an example with air. So I'm working with someone on a 12-week coaching program, and we have had, this is crazy. So we've had a quote from our air freight company, as a supplier, which is $4,000. $4,000 to ship 500 units of all of our product selection criteria, which we have hit perfect. $4,000, and the order was only $2,200. So you can see the massive difference. So if we were to send that in, we wouldn't make any money. We'd actually be paying money, and that would become more of a hobby for us to do. And we'd lose some big money on that. So by shipping by air, it was $700. So you can see the difference. Obviously, it's going to take 10 weeks, and it was spot on for this shipment. It's going to take 10 weeks. It just hit the UK from China yesterday morning, actually. And that was a 10-week process, but we did get a lot done during that time. We set up social media. We've done a lot of website stuff. We tried to diverse into a few separate sales channels. We've done the most we could with the time we had, so we don't have to worry and stress in the near future. We use this time that we have free now to use the processes that could benefit us in the short and long term. So always check with your supplier, guys, and I would always recommend checking with your supplier, number one, and also contacting some freight forwarding companies and cross-referencing the pricing from the both. That's always a good idea. But yeah, make sure you don't accept you don't accept air freight without getting some costs, guys. That's very important.
And just to kind of touch back on what you said, you always want to work with a supplier that has both of these options available, so that you can cross check these prices. Okay, like Chris said, sometimes you want to start by C and then see how the products sell and base your next order on that benchmark. Okay, but this is an important thing. Okay, you have to be careful. Pardon me, not to drop communication with your suppliers once you have received your first shipment and it is on Amazon and selling. Okay, if you're not communicating with your supplier throughout the process, it will make it harder for you to sustain. Okay, you want to be communicating with them. You want them to know, all right, you're getting low on inventory, get that next order ready, get it ready to ship. Because when you hit 0 products from your first order, you want that second order to be there that day, the next day, so you can continuously sell. You do not want to lose that momentum. You absolutely do not want to lose that momentum, okay?
One thing that the suppliers really, in my opinion, don't like is when you order and you go through the initial stages of ordering products. You're committed, you get all of that stuff done, you leverage their time, you get a lot of samples out, you really do, in a way, take advantage of the supplier's time. You get a lot of samples, they add some different factors to your product that you've requested. So they ship everything in perfect standing order, some perfect fashion. They get it to Amazon, and then you're a ghost. They don't hear from you at all until you are urgent and desperate for that next shipment. And what happens then? Because you've got some slight kind of frustration in your body for yourself that you haven't ordered early, that betrays the supplier, and they can see that. So you have to make sure that you're on top of it, communicating like they're your best friend, like you were having a coffee with them across the table, every single week. I'm not saying you have to do it every 24 hours, guys, but send them a message. And this doesn't always have to be business related. Send them a message, say, how are you? How's your evening going? I hope the family's well. If it's a Christmas, if it's a New Year, send them the message. I always try to see when the birthdays are of suppliers, send them a happy birthday message via email, all of that good stuff. Always use their first name, guys. What I'm getting at is communication is key with your suppliers and moving forward. So yeah, take that on board.
Absolutely. And I just want to go back and kind of reemphasize that communication is absolutely key. When you have a good relationship with your suppliers, they want to do business with you, okay? They want to do business with the people that are pleasant to be with or to talk to, and that show them results. So, if you're working with them and you're showing that you have good people skills, you can hold yourself well, and you can get things done with them, then they're going to be more confident in spending time with you because they have confidence in you to make sales, to run your business. If you're coming at them and just barking orders and expecting them to just be at your beck and call, it's not going to work out as well, right? And let's be real, they're your suppliers. You need them to succeed, okay? You might not need that one specific company, but you need a supplier. And so if you're going to have a supplier, you don't want to be jumping around from supplier to supplier. Pick one, develop a good relationship with them, and not all of them are going to be good. You're going to find some duds. It's just how it goes. That's how business is. Some things work out, some things don't, okay? But you want to make sure that you test it out, that you show them a lot of courtesy, that, like Chris said, you're in contact with them so they know, they understand you're being transparent, right? So what happens, Chris, if in that situation where you're desperate for the products and you've waited way too late, okay? What can happen to your bestseller rank? What can happen to your sales if you're out of stock for a while?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of this can really have a negative impact in a few different areas. One being the financials, the financial flow, the actual cash flow of your business. That can take a massive effect, like a negative effect. Your bestseller ranking. Let's just say, okay, let's give an example. I'm going to grab the coffee cup. So let's say you got your coffee glass to a bestseller ranking within the grocery category of 100. Okay, and you were selling 75 units, X amount, 75 units a day before you sold out. What happens then is your product, after it's got 0 in stock and you were the best seller, biggest authority within your niche, top page of the first page, top spot of the first page, you go out of stock. You're too popular. You go out of stock. So you sell out, guys, and your BSR goes from 100 slowly down. Every hour, your BSR drops. And your bestseller ranking, the lower it is, the better. So if you've got 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, and I've seen it, bestseller ranking, you might as well call yourself Casper the Ghost. Your product is invisible. So you really do want to pay attention to those stock levels, and thank Amazon for helping us with that. They send out emails 30 days from out of stock, 20 days from out of stock, 14 days, 10 days, 5 days. So they give you enough time. They on their own give you notifications. If you can't take attention to that, guys, what are you doing here? Get off Amazon. Get off Amazon. So really, it can have a really negative effect. And if you're, if you are and can only afford the seed freight method for the first 6 months of your business, and you run out of stock and you haven't, for some reason, haven't ordered stock back in, you're 10 weeks away from inventory. And imagine you're selling 75 units per day. And remember, sales do not stop on weekends. This is 7 days per week sales. Imagine 75 units times 7 times 10 at $9.99. I'm not even going to do the math. You can get the calculator out for that one. But that might seem like, oh, Chris, that's never going to happen. Trust me, I've been there and I've been out of stock, guys. I do this a lot when I've got like a big passion in my conversation.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. It's good, and honestly, you won't believe the stress and negative impact it can have on you as a person, because you're the one managing the business and the actual business's financial structure and cash flow. So that is something you really, really need to tighten up on if you're slacking in that area. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect in this area. I'm going to tell you the longest I went out of stock, 9 weeks. 9 weeks, my best seller. For my best selling product that was doing 28, 30 units a day, sometimes 40 or 50 units a day, 9 weeks. Don't remind me, don't let me get the calculator out. But yeah, you can see the importance, guys. Again, I've made a lot of mistakes in the Amazon game, and that's what's pushed me to give, people the knowledge and share my experiences to help others succeed in this area. So please, please, please apply what I'm telling you, and don't make the same mistakes as Chrissy Boy did back in the UK over here.
Absolutely. And, I'm sure you can attest to this, but once you did get that inventory back 9 weeks later, it probably took a lot more effort to get back up in the rankings than it would have been to just keep coasting, right? And
yeah.
And it's just a fundamental law. If you're already moving at a certain speed, it's easier to continue moving at that speed than to stop and get back to that speed. Okay? Stay consistent. Keep communicating with your suppliers. We just knocked out number 4. Done. Okay, let's go to number 5. Chris, are you ready for number 5?
Yeah, I'm always ready. Let's do this thing.
Born ready. I didn't even have to ask that. Okay, so
baby, let's do this.
Let's do it. So, number 5.
Finish strong. I'm strong, bro.
Absolutely. Number 5 is you want to pick a product that the competitors are under 250 reviews. Chris, give us some insight, my man.
Okay, so Ben, please stop me when I begin to do my rambling phase, which is all the time. You could stop me every second, but
I got
let's
you.
continue. Here we are. Okay, so I'm gonna put it out there that some people will agree with me on this one and some will not. Everyone has their own personal preferences of how they might do this. Mine, just as a disclaimer, this is the way I personally do it and have had the success in doing so. Especially after this mainly does come down to the review change in Amazon from October onwards last year, 2016. Let me just talk 2 minutes about that, Ben, just in case people don't know. Before 2016, October last year, Amazon allowed sellers, just like me and you guys watching, to give away your product either for free or at a heavy discount or not a heavy discount in exchange for an honest and unbiased review. Okay, so to me, that seemed like a dream method because I could give away my coffee glass for 80% off. Okay, 80% off on Amazon, which at $10 would, it'd be $2 to buy. Most of my costs would be covered. My cost price would be covered. All I would end up paying would be maybe some fulfillment and storage fees on Amazon. So really, you are buying reviews with that method. Like let's all say probably people didn't want to hear that because maybe that's out there a bit too much. But guys, really, if you think about it and apply like the real factor of this, that's exactly what we were doing. Okay, so really, it's Amazon have changed that. Long story short, Amazon have pulled that tactic. And I think that was an incredibly good and smart move by Amazon. They don't do things to annoy their sellers, guys. We, as private label sellers, we push over 35% of their annual revenue to the company. They're not going to annoy us and do things that will make us want to jump off selling products. So where am I?
You were saying about the review change. The review change. Why it was a good thing.
The review change. So I always, after I was annoyed at the change for like honestly about 20 seconds. I was like, no. But then after 20 seconds, I was also in Portugal at the time, so when I walked outside, it was like hot, and I was just on the beach and stuff, so it was all good. But I was thinking, imagine if like a coffee company came and they had $100,000 to put into their new coffee products range. They were bringing 5 products out, and most of them were the coffee cups, and my little baby was about to get crushed. Because I've only got £10,000 in the bank. What am I going to do against this competitor with a lot of capital? They could come in and they could put down £25,000 worth of product giveaways to the likes of softwares online that you can do giveaways to or could have done giveaways to. And what happens to the little guys like me who haven't got much money? We sink and fall, baby. So Amazon have seen that and they've applied that kind of their new thinking strategy. So now, okay, I told you I was going to go off the rails with this. So now, all I look for in categories is a smaller amount of reviews to go into a category that allows me to play catch up faster than it would before with like thousands of reviews. While that still stands, I'm not backing myself, but I don't really want to take so much time to clock up thousands of reviews where I can go into a much easier, more open market and class myself as the product authority in that marketplace much sooner. So my aim is 250 reviews, a nice amount of reviews, 10 to 15 sales a day, most of the products on the top of page 1. That to me is a much more attractive niche to enter into than going into some crazy market that's 500, 800,000 plus reviews, especially with a review change. It's a lot harder now. So I hope that's cleared a few things up. Sorry about the rambling. Ben, take it away.
Okay, so let's just recap on this, okay? Because Chris just gave us a ton of great information, okay? So what we're saying to you is you want to pick a category to go on Amazon with less than 250 reviews on their top item, right? The top item, less than 250 reviews, because it is more difficult now to get reviews, Okay, that's it. That's it. We want you to pick a product that you can go into the market and you can establish yourself as the top product more quickly. Okay, because you want to make money, we want you to make money, so everybody's happy, right? So do yourself a favor, pick a product with fewer than 250 reviews. Now, that being said, there is a caveat to that. Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. If you pick a product or some category and the main product has 500 reviews on it and you go and beat that, that's really hard to beat. Then you've done a fantastic job and you've established yourself as a massive authority. But what we're trying to tell you is, in the beginning, when you're starting out, it is more difficult to get reviews. So we want you to pick a product that is easier for you to get on top, okay? Once you're on top, it's kind of a self-fulfilling thing. More people are going to buy, people are going to organically leave reviews, and it's going to kind of take care of itself. But in order to establish yourself up top, you need to pick a product category with less than 250 reviews in the top product. Chris, you got anything else to add on that one, my man?
Yeah, I actually have, but I've been listening to this conversation bettering talk on the TED Talks, and it said, when a thought comes into your mind, just let it go. Just let it pass and let the person talking through you do the talking and focus in. So at the moment, nothing. I've just let it pass, as this expert conversation has told me to. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that one.
Absolutely. I'm proud of you too, my man. That was awesome. Yeah. And dude, I think I'm going to start doing this too. This is a really good way to get your thoughts out.
It gets bam, 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 bam. It gets the power and passion like that. It gets some sort of emotion.
Absolutely. Let's get it. Okay, so let's move on to number 6, okay? And this one is very important because it deals with your margins, okay? At the end of the day, if your margins aren't on point, you're not going to make any money. And if you don't make any money, you're unhappy. And if you're unhappy, we're unhappy. And none of us want to be unhappy. We want to be happy. So, number 6 is you want to find and pick a product that sells for 3 to 5 times the cost price. For example, buy for 5, sell for 15 plus. Buy for 5, sell for 15 plus. Chris, you want to give us some insight?
Yeah, just before I do go into that thought has gone from over there and it's popped right back into this mind. So good. I always go in with the intention, and I do tell my coaching clients to do the same. I would rather go into a smaller category, which, some categories on Amazon have bestseller tags. Those categories that don't are smaller categories than the categories that maintain those bestseller tags, okay? I'm not saying that I wouldn't want to go into a bestseller tag. I would want to go into that category. But if it was coming up to the saturation point, I'd rather stay away and go into a smaller category. I'm going somewhere with this. I would prefer to go into that smaller and less competition category and take just a couple of percent of that market, which gets me my 10, 15 maybe sales a day. And I'd like to make myself a semi-authority within that space, taking my 3 or 3.5% of the market, not aiming to dominate and going in with a mindset of totally saturating the whole market, taking every single sale here, there, taking 60% of the market. I would prefer to go in, take a small chunk, move on to the next. Move on to the next, take another 3%, move on to the next. I'll take that 10 sales, move on to the next, 15 sales. I would prefer to go in with that mindset. And I always go and tell my clients that too, because the overwhelming factor, if you're thinking in your head, I've got to go in, I'm going to go in and take 50% of this market, it's mine. That can become very daunting, and it can become a process that puts you off this whole business model very fast. So that to me is just a recommendation for new sellers. Once you build your experience up in the market, then you can go into more bigger niches or broader niches, let's say. But for the time being, I would rather take a smaller chunk of the market than go into a much more open one, let's say that.
Absolutely. So just to recap, and then I want to jump us back on number 6. But I think what Chris is trying to say is that, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but we want to be a big fish in a small pond. Okay, we want to pick the categories that they might not be the best-selling categories. They might not be the yoga mats or the self-help, you know. But it might be the category that you can come in, you take a small percentage of the market share here, then you move on. You take a small percent here, small percent here. You know what? Those small percents add up, and they add up over time. And
Correct.
once you dominate that little category, you can go on to the next one. You can keep moving up the ranks. So again, Chris is very wise. Chris is very experienced and very successful. Take his words for what they are. You know, we're telling you exactly how to do this thing and exactly how to pick a good product. So, you know, I really challenge you to listen to what we're saying, take it to heart, and instill it into your business. Okay? But let's move back to number 6. Okay, so selling for 3 to 5 times your cost price. Buy for 5, sell for 15 plus. Chris, you want to take it away, my man?
Yeah, so some people again would say, no, I'd like to go in with $10 profit per sale and net profit of £10. You know, personally, I started, and this comes from my own experience again, I started selling a supplement, and my profit was about £5.60 per each and every sale after all costs, after all breakdowns of Amazon. And to me, that put a lot of money in the business quite fast, and I used that money to then reinvest in a further 10, 15 products very, very quickly in the first 8 to 12 months. So from my experience, that to me is a minimum. That $5 is a minimum, and I'm talking about, you know, $15 sale price, $5 take home. Sorry, say pounds, UK. $15 sale price on Amazon, $5 take home. Now, I did write something in my notes here that made me open my eyes a bit in terms of how much that can make you. If you can see that, Ben, in a note, please let me know. I say something like, if you can make 15 sales per day at $5 profit, that's going to make you like a clean income of over $23,000 per year, something like that. And that's just based off one product. So you can see, again, going into that smaller market, capturing that smaller audience sometimes is more beneficial than the rest. And just by producing the minimum, and I'm talking about the minimum, I'm not saying to go in and get that and aim for that $5 net profit take home sale, you know, into your pocket. I'm saying that's the minimum you want to shoot for. If you can find a $10 profit or 20 or a 30 or a 50, great, don't dismiss that. But you can still earn a lot of money and make a big success with the smaller margins too. While that might be in disagreement with other people, personally, that's worked very well for me.
And I just want to jump in real quick, and say that, like Chris said, you know, you set one product here and you let that product make you some money. You put out another product here, make you some money. If you're at the least breaking even to where you're not losing any money, and you're getting experience, you're learning how the market works, you're learning how the business works, you're building your business, you're getting your mind right, you're doing everything right, eventually you're going to hit, okay?
Yeah.
And you're going to keep doing these little products, taking a little bit, and then you're going to hit one, and it's just going to blow your mind because you're going to grab this massive amount of market share. You're going to be a bestseller. You're going to be top of the Amazon rankings, and all of that is a learning process. You keep doing that. You keep rinse and repeating until you have a massive income like Chris here. And you keep doing it, and you keep taking what's working and you keep doing it. You do not change the feed of a winning horse. Chris, I did not mean to cut you off, my man.
Yeah, that's great. That makes a lot of sense, and that's going to help a lot of people. So what I was referring back to before my terrible math kicked in, that was making 15 sales per day with a net profit of $5 per sale. If you continued that, remember, sales don't stop on Saturdays and Sundays, people. They don't stop they don't start at 9 o'clock in the morning and they don't finish at 5 p.m. in the evening. If you were to do 15 sales per day at $5 profit per, that's $75 per day, and God, I was like $6,000 off. That is a total income per year of £27,000 plus, and that is based off one product at 15 sales per day. Now, to me, that puts a big smile on my face. To me, that's not overwhelming. 15 sales per day, especially if you do your product research right, fantastic. That is more than achievable. So you should be looking at that and thinking, wow, if I can make $75 per day potentially off one product, how many products would you actually bring out? That's probably the biggest question that I asked myself when I was starting out, and one of the biggest questions I asked my clients. How many products would you bring out?
A lot of products, Chris. A lot of products.
Yeah.
So, just to recap, okay, we want to find products that sell for 3 to 5 times cost price at minimum. Yeah. At minimum, okay. If you're finding a product that just is needle in the haystack, and you really have hit gold on this, and you can sell it for 10 times cost price, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Do not turn that away. Get it done, okay? But at a minimum, 3 to 5 times cost price, okay? Yeah. So, Chris, unless you have anything else to say on this subject, I think we can move on to number 7.
Yeah, I think we're clear on that. Let's move it on.
Okay, absolutely. So, next is you want to find a product that you know can sell between 10 to 15 plus units per day. Chris, you wanna comment on that?
So when Ben says that, and when I talk about that, and when we talk about that, that's not a number that we've just said you have to hit. That is your target for every seller out there for your first product or whatever product release in the number you're bringing out. You have to go and hit 10 to 15 sales per day before you even consider moving on to that second product. That is not what we're saying. I've stated this because that is my own personal aim. I would like to hit 10 or 15 sales per day before I move on to releasing a second product. And really, I'd like to hit that number before even considering to do further product research. So that is a personal aim. And I would recommend putting some goals down in terms of unit sales per day, revenue per day that comes with those unit sales, and being confident in the ability that you are going to strike the win on those daily sales. So again, my target, 10 to 15 sales per day, because I know if I'm going for a very minimum of $5 per sale net profit, I've got $75 cashed in that pocket. Not literally, because I'd put that back into reinvestment of more products, but you know where I'm going. So choose a number, stick by that number, don't fluctuate and change it every day, every week. Keep it monitored, evaluate that number, set it as a realistic goal, guys, according to the market, and run with it and be confident in yourself, in your business, in your mind, soul, and heart, that ability within you that you are going to hit that and you're going to strike gold. That's, it all comes with that.
Absolutely. And so this has been part 1 of our 3-part product selection, series that we're going to do. But I do want to talk about one more thing that we don't have scripted, and I want to talk a little bit about mindset, okay? Because if you're going to succeed, and in order for you to succeed, because it is possible for you to succeed in this business, you need to get your mind right, all right? You can't be thinking, oh, I really hope this works out, I'm going to just do a little bit of it and, just barely dip my toe in the water and hope it works out. No, if you're going to start a business and you're going to do this Amazon FBA thing, then you need to go into it full in. You need to dive right in, okay? Think of somebody who's ridiculously successful. Think of Michael Jordan or think of Michael Phelps, okay? That's a basketball player and a swimmer, and they're probably two of the greatest athletes in history. And do you think that those guys did what they did their sport halfway? Absolutely not. They went in 100%, and they gave it everything that they had in order to succeed. So that's the exact same thing that you need to do. Pardon my French, but you need to cut the bullshit, okay? You need to work your ass off, and you need to grind, okay? So
if I step in there, Ben, and cut you off from it on a much less success factor than you just stated with Michael Jordan, Michael Phelps, relating back to the Amazon world, for people who don't really know who I am, damn you if you don't. There was actually a little story that went behind kind of how I got started. and I'm going to fast forward to the point where I knew this is what I wanted to do. I actually quit my job as a personal trainer, and there's some this is quite emotional sometimes for me. And I moved home, which is 2 hours back home in Wales, and I moved in with my granddad. Granddad. He fronted me a room. I gave him kind of the business structure, not in terms of any support, just to let him know what I was doing. And all I can remember, when my girlfriend at the time was in Switzerland, she moved to be an au pair in Switzerland. I put my head down for 7 months. For 7 months, 12 to 16 hours per day. And I said to myself, I'm not going back to be a personal trainer. I'm not working those hours. I'm not bringing in £1,100 a month for doing so much work and putting so much time and effort into it. I'm not going back there. And I knew the only path for me to really succeed at this was to take some serious action, put some immense time, effort, and energy into where I wanted to go. And time, it was tough. I had no money. If I didn't have family around me, and I'm not really sure where I would have been or where I'd be at this point. So a support system around you is massive. And I sat in my room. I'm not exaggerating. 6, sometimes 7 days a week, 12 to 16 hours a day. And I read blogs, I watched videos, I looked at the higher ups who I didn't really know were higher ups at that time in the Amazon FBA space. And I can remember there was this one video, I watched over 96 hours of it, and it was on repeat. I would lie down in my bed, and this would be in the morning. I'd lie down in my bed, and I'd turn the screen over, and I'd turn the lights off, and I would just listen to this video constantly. And by the end of this time, I was actually saying exactly word for word, what this speaker was talking about. And my intention was, I didn't know that I was going to make $250,000 that first year. I'm sorry if I'm boring you, but this is just a story. It's very, very, it's close to my heart. It's passionate, and it was, I truly do believe if I can make this a success and live and create the life that I have through this, anybody can. And the first thing it comes with that action. You have to implement that action. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a lonely process. You might have to cut off some friends and even family. But I promise you, if you do this right, it's going to be worth it. And you've got to go through what you have to go through to get to the other side. So if you're going through hell, keep going, guys.
You're almost there. And I kind of just thought of a metaphor, or maybe not even a metaphor, but what you said. If you're going through hell, to just keep going, because in order to get to heaven, you got to go through hell. You absolutely have to. So just keep on working, keep on grinding. You can absolutely do this. Okay.